And welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning, Monday morning, Monday the 14th of July. And just when you think everything's maybe going well at Celtic and we're going to get other players in and Brendan Rodgers will get his way, it came out this morning that it came out yesterday really, that two wingers want away from Celtic. Yes, Marco Tilio and Yang. Is any surprise that both players want away? Yang is a player that's been at Celtic for a couple of years now, and after a £2 million transfer, Norwich City are keen on signing Yang, selling for 9 million. 9 million Celtic, just 9 million. Get the money back from Adamida. Just keep playing at them. Don't sell them cheap. I think I could agree. I could speak for every Celtic fan here. If we're going to sell him to Norwich City, let's get our money back from the sale of Adamida. Now, when it comes to Marco Tilio, that one's a bit different. It looks like Melbourne City want the player. They've had him on an 18-month loan before, and it looks like they're maybe putting in a bid. Now, it comes at a time where Yang has basically come out and said, I want to go. I'm done, basically. Marco Tilio, he's came back into Celtic and he did say in the media back home that he wants to prove himself in the European arena, whether it be at Celtic or somewhere else. So would he entertain a move back to Australia? That's the big question for Marco. And has Marco done enough in the training camp so far for Brendan Rodgers to go, yeah, you've got a bit of a future here? Whilst you can have all the trickery and fancy footwork, it's one of those issues, isn't it? I mean, it's two players that they didn't set the heather on fire, to say the least, did they? When given their opportunities at various times over the last couple of years, it's two players that are no big loss. Norwich, Yang Bang, thank you man, take him, says Michelle. I'm telling you, it's sell them as soon as possible, no hanging about on those two. Yeah, I think we can all agree the same, isn't it? But I want to fleece Norwich. I want to get them back for what they did to us with the Adamida situation. I mean, both players, they can play football. There's no disputing that. I mean, but they're just not good enough for what Celtic are looking for. That then takes us to who are we going to bring in? Because if we sell those two, I mean, we already need to bring in a winger as it is. Now, I've said before that, the situation at Celtic when it comes to the wingers is we do need better players in. When you look at the team that we have just now, Dyson Maida's your number one, okay? We can all agree that. Jota, when he's fit, he's up there. You're not taking Jota out of the team, you're not taking Dyson Maida out of the team. But the thing is Jota's out until January. Kuhn has left the building. So you would think that these two players would want to up their game. And if they do leave, that's three forward attacking players that we're now going to be short. If the players want away and it's came out public in this transfer window, Celtic need to get their finger out and get replacements in. I mean, I understand that the Bilwishka one's well down the line and he will come in, but it still leaves us short. And as we're heading towards the start of the season, we're already players down. Now, it's been speculated that Brendan Rodgers wants a big name in as a striker. He wants to burst the bank for a striker and a midfield player. There's speculation that Lennon Miller will leave his club. He's currently injured. He's out for 10 days. He has been sidelined with an injury that's going to keep him out for around about 10 days. But it looks like he might be on the move before then. Will Celtic make their move for Lennon Miller? Or, as the media have suggested, we may be going for an Italian midfielder with a bit more experience and a bit more about him. It's an interesting one because, as it stands, I'm going to be spot on with the turnaround on players. It looks like we might need to bring 8 or 9 players in this window just to maintain the status quo with the first team, which is unbelievable when you think about it, because we ended the season, this could be the worst transfer window ever, said Eddie. He's doing good watching Baz with me sitting. Oh, you're talking about the wee man, Gemma. That's good. Big name, you mean Jan's wee boy? Can't any get a bigger name than that. Yeah, that would be a big name, wouldn't it? Van Gure Hesselhank. Just get his son in. It's the only way to do it. I hope you're good in Porto this morning, mate. It's that interesting time of the window. Jim said, as I said yesterday, Baz, we're struggling this year. We aren't anywhere near prepared. It's an absolute embarrassment. I wouldn't say it was an yeah, there's just, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Well, it's not really. I mean, Brendan Rodgers did come out and say, look, we need to turn around the players. The players that we got in last season were at the later end of the window, so there's plenty of time. There is plenty of time, but if you've got another 2 wingers that want away, it does narrow your options up front, because Lewis Palmer wants away as well, right? So as it stands just now, we have Lewis Palmer who has been told he's not good enough for Celtic. Yang, who's come out and said, I want away. Marco Tilio is now being linked with a move back to Australia, and Kuhn has left the building. That's 4 of your attacking players, which leaves us with Adam Ida, Benji, injured Jota, Dyson Maeda, and Johnny Kenny, and Callum Osmond, who's not ready. Callum Osmond is not the option to take us into the Champions League. He's third choice striker at best, and fighting out with Johnny Kenny. It leaves us going short. It leaves us really short. If these players all leave, we're starting this, don't want to say it, but we could be starting the season weaker. Now, Brendan Rodgers will butter up and say we want to start the season stronger. It'll be interesting to see the interviews that Brendan Rodgers does do before the game tomorrow on Wednesday evening. It'll be really interesting to listen to Brendan Rodgers, because he will be asked about transfers now. I mean, we're right in amongst the nitty gritty part of the transfer window. Quan's on his way out. Jesus, Stephen Welsh is injured. It's fallen to pieces, isn't it? The squad. It's a dissemblement of the squad. Oh, what a way to start a Monday morning. I've already done an hour and a half's work before I even done this video, and I was all, yes, I've achieved loads this morning. And then you start looking at Celtic stuff and you go, fuck, Jesus. Let's jump into the comments. It's like Groundhog Day every transfer window. Celtic are going to chance it and wait until we qualify for the Champions League. I hope not, because Lennon ain't going to Celtic. He's a Rangers supporter, but he's down in England. He's going down to England. His dad will consider I stay in Wishaw, right next to him. He's a Rangers supporter, yet he was pictured with a Celtic strip when he was younger. Is that right? Richie? Just saying. I didn't know he stayed in Wishaw. There you go. Jim McClarty saying that we're nowhere near ready for the season. None of them, apart from Kuhn, were first team players. Yeah, but they were squad players. You need to think about the squad. Do you know, Kuhn ran out of steam towards the end of the season, and we were bringing Yang on as his replacement, and they weren't good enough. If you lose those players, the squad's weaker. The squad is weaker. The board are wary of giving Brendan cash to spend on expensive flops. I don't think that's it. Started filming the under-18s arriving at their training academy in Porto. I'm going to go down to the Murcia training facility. There's a couple of good games down in Murcia. A few English teams. I might go and sit in the Elche end and noise up the Millwall fans. Millwall's coming to town. I've got to go down there and wind them up. Pishy wishy. So was Greg Taylor, Richie, but he came to Celtic. Exactly. Do you know, you're not going to complain about. Sounds like man is declining, Baz. It does. Edward, I don't like to. You can see things coming. You can see things starting to repeat themselves at Celtic, and it's annoying, isn't it? To say the least, it's frustrating. It is very frustrating, and I just hope and pray that Celtic can pull the rabbit out of the bag, you know. And I'm going to wait until we see the media talking to Brendan Rodgers on Wednesday, because if it is a period of managed decline, it looks like Brendan Rodgers will leave us at the end of the season, and we can all see that happening. Things have fell apart. Bad board, sleeping again. Didn't they learn the last time? The Huns are laughing at us now if we don't win the first 3 games in the league before Ibrox were in big trouble. The Huns aren't laughing at us. I mean, they've got their own issues. Will Young get his Nat Kingmore in Norwich? We wanted the big decisions on Brendan's future so we could kick on. I'm still none the wiser. I stopped believing in getting signings and trust nothing from this board until the ink is dry. I see when Brendan brings his players, I'm going to laugh at you all for acting like this for weeks. It's how we start, it's how we finish that counts. It's at the stage now where Celtic cannot afford, you're right, mate. It's at the stage now where Celtic cannot afford to lose Dyson Maeda or Rio Hatate, especially with all these other players now coming out and saying through their agents, you know. I mean, Melbourne City have come out and said that they want to re-sign Marco Tilio. Marco Tilio said, I want to try it in Europe. But if Celtic can get 2 million for Marco Tilio, it's 2 million back into, we bought him for 1.5 million. If we can get 2 million in for the player, you know, it will be interesting. The Yang one is Norwich have expressed an interest in Yang, and then the South Korean international has signalled his intention to explore a move in England and Europe. So he's come out and said, I want to go, but Celtic are saying, well, we can't afford to let you go. And this is the scenario that played out last year. It's now playing out in public. This is a scenario that played out under Kyogo Furuhashi. Celtic knew back in the August that Kyogo wanted away, and they had to let him go, you know. And it was a shock to everyone when we sold Kyogo. You know, the day after one of our finest moments in Europe, you could say, you know, pretty much guaranteed qualification to the playoff place in the Champions League, and the next day we sell Kyogo Furuhashi and we don't get a replacement for him. You've now got players that are coming out in public through their agents saying, nah, I want to go, I don't want to stay at Celtic, I'm not getting first team football the way that I thought I would, do you know, I'm just not getting an opportunity. That comes with being at bigger teams. Do you know, bigger teams have players that have got to fight for the positions, and let's face it, they've had their opportunities and they're not good enough, but it does put us under a lot of pressure. It puts us under an extreme a lot with pressure, with Brendan Rodgers coming out in the media yesterday saying that, you know, I've had a meeting with the board about my contract, and you know, a year's a long way off. There's obviously, it was good to get the conversation going, but from the board's point of view, you've lost out on 2 trophies that we thought you should have won. And Brendan's point of view, the other side of the table will be, well, you never brought me in the players that I wanted, and you allowed my number 1 striker to go. The squad is now looking weaker than it was if all these players go, the squad is weaker than it was at the end of the season. Yes, we will get the squad back up, but it's going to be a case of who is a 1.5 million from Japan the answer? No. People are saying that Brendan Rodgers wants a big name striker to come in, someone that's a bit more known, that's going to cost a bit of money, that's going to do the business. That he knows bringing in a striker from Japan in Shimada is all good, but yeah, there's plenty of time. 2069. What? Kuhn was here for 18 months, played 6 months and sold on for 5 times what we brought. That's good business. Yeah, but it's the ones that all want away now. You know, that is the issue. Anyway, when it comes to Celtic, they are playing a game tomorrow, Wednesday evening, and it could be a case of last man standing. If the players leave the training camp before they won't, Celtic won't. And I don't want to keep going on about it, but Brendan Rodgers, he can't turn around to Yang and say, we're not selling you. Because then you've then got an unhappy player in the camp. And if you've got an unhappy player in the camp, it's you know, a recipe for disaster. It is a recipe for disaster. Celtic take on Sporting in Portugal in 2 days, 10 hours and 13 minutes. And if players are wanting away, there's one thing that is for sure. They're not going to try their hardest when it gets to that game, are they? They're not going to try their hardest at all, because one, they're not going to want to get injured, and two, they're going to be, do you know what? So I'm just reading a bit of news that's coming in for Spain. There's a bit of madness going on in Spain with the Africans. Anyway, let me just click on this and turn that down. I just want to check something. Bit of news that's coming out. It's not all doing it. I wonder who's that. When it comes to the squad, Brendan Rodgers will say that we need a bigger squad, and we do need a bigger squad due to the fact that, listen, all the games that we're going to play, Champions League, a good, not in Murcia, further down the coast, away inland. Yeah, it's all kicking off here with immigrants as well. Anyway, it's enough of that. It's fucking mad. Sorry, it's fucking nuts. Anyway, there's a long way to go. There is a long way to go to the end of the window. Brendan Rodgers obviously breaking his silence over the contract negotiations hasn't left us any the wiser when it comes to his position at Celtic. He did admit that he's met with the Irish tycoon or owner or billionaire Dermot Desmond. They had a sit-down meal with the power brokers at Celtic, and he said we had a nice chat. It was nice to meet. We touched base on contract, but primarily it was just a chat around things in general. Like I said, a year is a long way out, said Brendan. My focus just now is getting the team ready and making us really competitive and exciting for this coming season. Let's just hope that the tide turns over the next couple of weeks, because it is. This time last year we were trashed by Chelsea in a friendly. We trashed Chelsea in a friendly. Now they're in the World Club Champions, trashing PSG. Yeah, Gav, I seen a bit of it last night and I didn't believe it, but then I've just seen some Spanish media and it's like, fuck me. I understand why the Spanish are hitting back. Do you know what I mean? Understand why they're doing it. But it's the right wing in Spain are kicking off. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers, Celtic duo want to leave. Where does it leave the club with its new recruits coming in? And how many players, I mean, tell me in the comments, how many players do you think that Celtic now need to bring in before the start of the season? Let's do a quick poll this morning. How long have we been on? 19 minutes. Let's start a poll. Four, 5, 6, 7. There's a quick poll this morning. How many players do we need in this season to make us better? 4, 5, 6 or 7 players. Squad players we're talking about. I mean, we're talking about squad players and first team players. It'd be interesting just to get your take on how many players that we need to get into the club. This one is an interesting one because I've said in total, I have said before, I think Celtic will bring in 8 first team players this window. So far we've brought in about half that. But need at least 5 more players. Well, Mikey boy, if the 2 wingers that are in question this morning, if they leave the club, we need in. That's another 3 wingers that we need in because we need backup. And I've not seen enough from the B team players to suggest that they're going to be good enough backup. I mean, you could say that they may be, but when you're fighting on all fronts, when you're going into the Champions League, when you want your players that don't get a game every week, when you want them to have a run in the Scottish Cup. Brendan Rodgers did that the last time he was at Celtic. Players that weren't getting a game week in, week out in the league, he would utilise those players in the league, in the cup games, the League Cup games. I said, go and show me how good you are. Let's win this cup. This is your chance to prove that you're good enough to play in the first team. So how many players do we need in this season? 4, 5, 6 or 7. Remember that we've brought in 4 players already. We've brought in 4 players already to the first team. So, is it 4 or 5? I'm starting to lose count. At least 5. Without throwing the manager in there as well. We definitely need wingers. It has to be 5 for me, Baz. Tillio was not here last season. Yeah, he wasn't here last season, but he's part of the squad now. And if he leaves that, we're still way short. When you look at the squad, it will leave the squad weaker. 2 defenders, 2 wingers, attacking midfielder and a striker, said Jed Johnson. 1 right centre back, maybe 2 midfielders, a winger and a striker. That's a good shout. We need at least 6 players. They all went away. Well, they didn't let the door hit them on their arse on the way out. 2 wingers, a striker, a centre defensive midfield player and a centre back. We need 5 in, 2 starters. We definitely need 2 first team starters in. I would say a striker and a defender. And I would say 3 actually, because I think that we do need someone to take over for Callum McGregor. I think Brendan Rodgers, well, we need a left back as well. Brendan Rodgers has already said, he's came out publicly said that he's not going to use Kieran Tierney in 55 games this season. He's going to use Kieran Tierney sparingly over the season, which means you're going to use him in Champions League games, you're going to use him in derby games, you're going to use him in cup semi-finals, quarter-finals, finals games. For the guy for Antwerp was a done deal. It's meant to be happening, but until it is, we'll wait and see. 10 and a ticket office. 2 wingers and a striker and a manager. Oh, it's getting to that stage of the season where Brendan Rodgers may start getting it. It's not real. You cannot blame Brendan Rodgers for anything that's going on. You can maybe say that players are wanting away from the club because of Brendan Rodgers not giving them enough game time, but ultimately they're not good enough. We need to offload Hatate and get a midfielder who could spread the ball. Oh, woofed. Yet manager says that Hatate is the one player that can turn games. If it's the case that we lose Rio Hatate, who do we bring in? I think if you lose Rio Hatate, I mean, Paulo Bernardo's still to come back to the club, but it doesn't make us stronger. All the talk about everything making us stronger. We don't have the transfer department, just one board member trying to sign and release players. No wonder we're slow in the transfer market. Well, we do have a transfer department. We've got Paul Tisdale, who is meant to be the go-between Brendan Rodgers. We're not seeing enough activity and evidence that Paul Tisdale is making his money right now. But we'll determine that at the end of the window. There's still a long way to go. We're only on the 14th of July at the moment. We've got until the 3rd of September. So, the Champions League qualifier isn't until the end of August. So there's a long way to go, football-wise. Brendan puts pressure on the board to get their finger out and they'll sign who they want. Stop crying over pennies. he will sign a new deal. I still think that he'll sign the new deal in October, and I think that the board will put pressure on him. You make sure that you get the qualification to the Champions League. That will be the big one. If we do not get qualification to the Champions League, I think that the board may rethink things. But I don't think so. But that will be one of the permutations that we need to wait for. It's not guaranteed. We've not played well recently. Miss Hatate in the cup final. Yeah, we did. We did that. Definitely. I think he was the missing piece between Callum McGregor and goals. But then again, striker in the cup final. You know, having to rely on bringing Dyson Maeda. There's lots of things. We don't want to go back over old ground. Hatate only turns up 20% in games, to be honest. He does. And he was one player that I thought, if we're going to sell Hatate this summer, sell Hatate. Where's Rodgers going to go to, Baz? I've no idea, Jim. I don't even want to think about Rodgers leaving. I want to just think of Celtic getting better. And, you know, as it stands just now, 2 players, 2 wingers, publicly wanting away from Celtic makes us weaker. And that the squad players then start talking about pre-season. I mean, the players had a day off yesterday. Okay, so the players would have done things in their little groups. You know, they would have maybe done something together. They maybe all went over to the stadium across the road where Celtic won the Champions League. Maybe Brendan Rodgers took them over there and tried to motivate the players and saying, this is where we won the Champions League. And you'll get players going into their little groups and during their off day yesterday, and they get talking. You know, it's like, I'm not going to get enough game time at Celtic. I'm rethinking. You know, it's like, what's going to happen? I'm not too sure. It's, you know, players start talking. Loose lips cost places and teams. That's for sure. Beat a team, missed Hatate in the cup final. Utter pish, to be honest. Baz, don't blame Brendan Rodgers if he leaves Celtic at the end of the season because of the fans getting on his back. I'll be glad if he leaves, but because some of the fans that I know, they had a good manager. In other words, Yang and Tilly aren't fit for the strip. Yeah, we all know that. But, you know, I think the shock for us this morning is them saying that they want to leave. Do you know, I think that's the bit of a shock, especially the Tillio one. Well, he's not come out and said he wants to leave, but do you know, the club from Australia are making noises that they want to sign him. They will have spoke to him. They will have spoke to Marco, and they would say, look, do you want to come back here and play full time? And he'll say, I'll say to you yes, and I'll say in private yes, but in public I'll say that I want to play in Sir Celtic and I want to play at European level. That's the way that players work, and that's the way that agents work. I'd like Rodgers to leave right now. He's useless, says Graham. Oh, Monday morning up with the lark. It's like, God. Anyway, we've had 99 votes so far. How many players do we need in this season? That's bang on 100 votes now. 29% are going for 4. This is over and above the players that we've already brought in. How many players do we need this season? 4's on 29%. 41% say 5, 17% say 6, and 13% say 7. I'm still going to go that in total we'll bring in around about 8 players, and I have been saying that for a while. It's just a number that I had, that when you look at everyone that was out on loan, players that were going to leave, when you look at this squad, it's going to we need that amount of players just to keep the squad size. Everything will be fine, says Mon the Tick Mick. Yeah, I think everything will be fine when the transfer window ends, but it's how much damage will be done potentially at the start of the season. If we don't hit the ground running, we need quality players in. We have brought in projects that are not good enough. Well, you could say that Kyogo was a project player. You could say Dyson Maeda was a project player. You could say that Nico Kuhn was a project player because he'd been a journeyman through 4 clubs before he got to Celtic. You could say that Matt O'Reilly was a project player because he left Fulham, freedom of contract. He was 6 months without a club to then go to MK Dons, and then he put a release clause in for 1.5 million. So you could say that those 5 players were all project players. So now that, we have to understand that every single player that we've brought in over the last 4 seasons have ultimately been project players, apart from the 2 keepers. That's pretty much spot on, actually. The only 2 players that we've brought in over the last 4 seasons that haven't been project players have been Joe Hart and Kasper Schmeichel. That's the only 2 players that I could think of. Tell me another player who hasn't been a project player. I mean, you could say, I suppose, Gustav Lagerbielke. He wasn't really a project player, but he was bought in at good money. When you look at Mark Narovsky, he was brought in for 4 million, and he was playing first team football. That wasn't really a project player, but he wasn't good enough. You could actually say that the project players have worked out better than some of the players that we went out and spent money for. And don't get us talking about Adawida and our young, very young Aaron Moy. Yeah, Aaron Moy. But KT's only came back this season. I'm talking about the previous ones. CCV was come on, you've got to say CCV was a project, because he was passed from pillar to post. He'd been through 6 clubs on loan at Spurs. He was on loan at 6 different clubs at Spurs before he came to Celtic. So I would say Cameron Carter-Vickers was a stab in the dark. It may work. We got him on loan. We got him on loan before we bought him. It was, let's see if he's good enough and then we'll buy him. The same with Jota. Juranovic, that wasn't in the last 4 years. Juranovic was before. I'm talking about the last 4 years. Let's not start getting players out of everywhere. We're talking about specifically the last 4 years. And there's not been too many. Starfelt? Yeah. Frimpong was a project, and that's going way back. But let's stick to the last 4 years. Yeah, you could say Starfelt wasn't a project player, but people didn't like him. People hated Carl Starfelt. He was the one that got all the stick at the time. He got dogs abuse, Carl Starfelt. And then when he went on a run and the stats shown, I mean, people said that when he played, he used to get stick all the time saying that Cameron Carter-Vickers was better, and but it is what it is, isn't it? 111 votes, there we go, 111. We'll close the poll off at that this morning. We need to get Sir Peter in solitary till the window shuts. Brendan is still trying to get rid of his dross. Yes. Even Mr. Dumbelly was a project. A very good one, though. Every signing is a gamble, project or not. Yes, it's true. Lubo was a project player. Nah. Not the age that Lubo was, and not the manager that brought him into the club. Lubo wasn't a project player. He was 34-year-old. Oh, that's... Oh man, Lubo was a project at 34. Apart from Forrest, how many experienced players were on the bench last season? Yeah, this is true. This is true. Anyway, that is me done and dusted for this morning. Brendan Rodgers will feel that he is under even more pressure due to the fact that some players have said that that they want away, which is Lubo still available? I'd take Lubo back tomorrow. I would actually take Lubo back tomorrow. Anyway, that's been done and dusted for this morning. I'm sure we'll try and do a live later on this afternoon, or I'll do a video later on this afternoon, and then we'll be live back at 8 p.m. tonight, as always, where we can talk about the big talking points of the day. There's going to be a lot of them. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are. I'm dreading this now. All around the world.